Greetings everyone, welcome back to my sketchbook. This is just a sit down and draw or figure out stuff kind of thing that I like to do with a sketchbook every once in a while. I'm not drawing a superhero or anything like that. And just gonna draw. I do have something kind of in mind, but not really. So we'll see what kind of comes out of it. For fun though, I am going to start off with the eyes. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit, just like that. See if I can lock that down just enough. But yeah, not drawing anything in particular, and I'll just kind of grow something from whatever it is that I'm doing. Simple enough, starting off with some eyes. Now, the idea that I kind of have in my head to start is kind of make something kind of cute, but something that would be maybe considered malevolent to start. I don't know. It's not always necessary to do that kind of stuff. Just kind of weird things, though, when you're sitting down looking at your sketchbook. Then, maybe at some point in the future we'll get back into doing something familiar and all that kind of stuff. But some of my favorite doodles that I've seen other people do are generally kind of quick and often kind of weird things. And not fair for me to say it just like that, but I'm a big fan of Tim Burton for the movies, of course, but some of his little sketches and doodles are they're awesome as well. So I think that's kind of what I'm aiming at, is like something that's a little spooky, or maybe not really spooky, but maybe people just didn't really pay attention to it the right way, or let's say misunderstood, and it's really just a beautiful thing. Tim Burton seems to do that a lot, where something's misrepresented in everyday life, I suppose, and people might think it's a little bit scary. Really, it's not. It's just a little bit different. I've been a fan of Tim Burton's for quite some time. Every once in a while, you can run into movies or television shows that, when you find out that they belong to a certain person, it's almost kind of shocking, and yet you can kind of see their signature throughout it. So an example of that is Stephen King. Now, one of my all-time favorite movies of Stephen King is The Shawshank Redemption. And if you're familiar with his works, he often will have like supernatural elements, a lot of suspense, but a lot of really scary things. So, but yeah, often supernatural. Well, that's not really one of those things. Sort of like, I'm trying to remember what it was actually called in the book. So the movie Stand By Me is that, and The Shawshank Redemption, The Apt Pupil, and I think the last one's The Breathing Method, was called Different Seasons. And they're really neat. They're neat, sort of like spooky stories, but not really in the traditional what you think of Stephen King would do. Now, the Breathing Method one is the only one that might have kind of the elements that you would know of Stephen King. I don't know where this is going. There's something about this that's kind of familiar. And maybe I'll turn this into like a little mannequin-like creature, because that's the kind of vibe I'm getting at the moment. So I'll split that jaw out a little bit, and then maybe here we'll have some version of a badge. Where was I? Oh yeah, Tim Burton by way of Stephen King. So The Shawshank Redemption in the book, I believe, is called Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption, and that's based on like a poster. And Stand By Me in the book is called The Body. Apt Pupil, which I think was turned into a movie of the same name, and that other one, I don't believe it's been made into anything. But as a standalone story, it's there's hope in it. And the Different Seasons, or Hope Springs Eternal book, is remarkable. Now, Tim Burton, fantastic at telling the stories of misunderstood creatures and people. And so he put out a movie a while ago, I believe it was called Big Fish. It was kind of about somebody growing up in a small town that sought out something much bigger than, what the small town would offer. Anyway, but throughout it, you're kind of told a story, and you're introduced to outlandish characters, and you kind of get to meet them towards the end of the movie, or at the end of the movie, and it's fantastic. So it's like wonderful storytelling. Now, I don't know if it's necessary to have a tie with whatever we have going on here, but that's what we're going to do. Again, I didn't really have a plan. I thought I was going to do something that was going to be like a cute something or other, but well, it's not really working out. Now, where do I want certain things to be? Sitting on the lap this way or that way, right-handed. Puppets to me are kind of strange because I pay attention to what puppets do and say, even while they're sitting on the ventriloquist's lap. So I'm a big fan of the Muppets, and if Jim Henson was around and he had Kermit on his lap, I would very much look at what Kermit was saying. Like, I'd watch Kermit's mouth move. And Jim Henson wasn't really a traditional ventriloquist, actually. It'd be more of an operator, puppeteer type. He wasn't trying to not let people see his lips move. So, anyway, that's pretty neat to just sort of think about that. The suspension of belief, I guess you could say. Puppets are kind of creepy too. Certain puppets more so than others. Because if you're sitting around and there's one off in the corner, my mind would probably start to wander and think, I wonder if that thing just moved. And that's a problem. So I don't think I could just hang out with a ventriloquist dummy. That would be outrageous. Now let's see, this arm just sort of flopped down maybe. Kind of a hinged arm. Much like that one. Now, and happy birthday to everybody who celebrated a birthday this weekend. That'd be William and Jevin and, well, anybody. I don't do a Miss Fran thing, so I'm not just gonna, I could name random. Today is your birthday and your name is Jess. Happy birthday, Jess, because you're awesome. Let's go with a different kind of knee for our buddy who's sitting down. We'll bring this up just a little bit. As I said, there's no real plan with this one today. Just fun. And have this leg here. Just like that. That reminds me of a character from a show a long time ago known as, well, the character was Mr. Furley. That's what that reminds me of, which was a show for its time that I probably shouldn't have been watching because it had some themes in it, let's say. But most of that stuff kind of flew over my head, so it didn't really matter that much, I guess. But that's what that reminds me of. What's the name of that actor? I'll have to think about it. My goodness. But he would have been on like the Andy Griffith Show and anyway, that's quite a while ago. So yes, I don't think I'd do very well if I was standing or sitting or sleeping in a room with a ventriloquist dummy like this one. It would have to be put in its box. There's a bunch of those sort of old shows that, when I think about them, you know, that could even, if it wasn't for the little badge I put there, that could probably be like an old-fashioned milk delivery person, or I'm not sure who else would wear neat old hats like that. Letter carriers don't wear hats like that anymore. I don't even think they do milk delivery. Maybe in rural sort of areas they still would. But even then, I can't imagine it'd be that much of a thing. I kind of skip around in my brain a lot sometimes. I'm just doing sort of an outline of it all. For what I like to refer to as showing that I meant to do this. Even though it's just kind of a doodle-like thing. Hopefully, when you're watching this, it's early in the day. Hopefully you're not spooked out by any of this kind of stuff. Let's go right here. Yeah, that's kind of spooky and kind of misunderstood. Part of the theme. You know, he's just looking out for you. Wants you to have a nice little nap. Whenever it is that you take your nap. Let's say the pants here. We'll just let them be a little bit darker. Well, I think that's going to be it. Just a silly little thing like that. But let's close this in a little bit too as a speech bubble. We'll make it kind of messy because that voice isn't really meant to just be nice and easy either. So I'll do the main part of the speech bubble just like that. I'll have it kind of make its way to the mouth. Just like that. It's just silliness. There you go. Easy enough. And, well, I don't think we need to go any further than that. I think just for fun, that's all we need to do. But I will say this much about most weird and wonderful things out there. You don't really have to be worried about things that are unknown. You just have to be careful. So chances are puppets are not going to wake up in the corner of your room and talk to you. Your imagination's a very powerful thing. So yes, I wouldn't worry about that. The next thing that I think is also good to know is that it's okay to think about funny things and know that, you know, it is pretend. I think that's a pretty good thing too, so. Kind of like roller coasters, maybe. They're fun, but nothing to worry about. Unless, you know, you ate a big lunch or something. Then you just have to be cautious about certain things. Anyway, just rambling on. Folks, that is it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for hanging out. And hopefully we'll see you at some point in the near future. Ciao for now.